Hi, it's Rick from For Community, creating community spaces so you can connect with others and also with God. As a therapist, one of the things I love to do is couples therapy. So I've got another illustration around couples therapy to launch this video off today. One of the things I do in the first session when I'm with a couple is to ask questions around a couple's family of origin. I ask questions about how conflicts were resolved, who played what roles, are the parents still together. I'm listening for themes and patterns that each person has lived through to see if those themes and patterns are still present in their marriage or in their relationship. I'm also listening for attachment styles. So vitally important. There are only 4 attachment styles, so it's nice and easy. If someone grew up in a stable home with lots of nurture and love, they may have a secure attachment style. And I'm not going to say much about that because these are the kinds of people that probably won't show up in any of my counseling sessions. If someone didn't grow up with a stable family, they may have an attachment style that puts them into the role of a withdrawer or puts them into the role of a pursuer. And if someone grew up around abuse, they may have an attachment style that swings between a pursuer and a withdrawer, and they go back and forth, making their partner so confused. The attachment style that we learn as children tends to be the attachment style that we hold on to as adults in our adult relationships, namely with our spouse. Can we change our attachment style? Can we develop into a more secure attachment style? Absolutely. We talked about this last week, so I'm not going into too much more of this. What I want us to notice is that our family of origin, the family that you grew up with, informs you how you pursue the most significant people in your life. You can either be hyper vigilant about making sure the relationship is stable, or you can be one of the people that kind of withdraws from conflict, or you can swing both ways, or you can just be really secure. Your family of origin informs you about the attachment style that you use in your significant relationships. If you're watching with someone, how do you feel about doing this little exercise? Pause the video and have a talk with that person that you're watching with and ask yourself, what kind of attachment style do you think you learned from your family of origin? So as a child, were you the peacekeeper trying to pull your parents together? Or maybe you had a loss and you had to step into the role of a pseudo-parent pursuing your siblings to care for them. In that case, you'd be more of the pursuer. Or did you often find yourself in a room not engaging because your parents were unavailable? Or maybe you didn't want to be involved in the argument, so you retreated? You'd be the withdrawer. Or did you come from an awesome family, you had great relationships, and you were pretty happy about things, and you'd have that secure attachment? Take a guess at what your attachment style was back then, and then try to figure out if you're still using that same attachment style in your most significant relationship today. This video is based on my interpretation of 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 4 through 10. In this text, we learn that we have a new family of origin story. As a Jesus follower, we're part of God's family. And as part of God's family, we have a new attachment style to learn, to be experienced. As we read the text, see if you can figure out the kind of attachment style that's being modeled for us in our new family. 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 4 to 10, you are coming to Christ, who is the living cornerstone of God's temple. He was rejected by people, but was chosen by God for great honor. And you are living stones that God is building into his spiritual temple. What's more, you are his holy priests. Through the mediation of Jesus Christ, you offer spiritual sacrifices that please God. As the scriptures say, I'm placing a cornerstone in Jerusalem, chosen for great honor, and anyone who trusts in him will never be disgraced. Yes, you who trust in him recognize the honor God has given him. But for those who reject him, the stone that the builders rejected has now become the cornerstone. And he is the stone that makes people stumble, the rock that makes them fall. They stumble because they do not obey God's word, and so they meet the fate that was planned for them. But you are not like that. For you are a chosen people. You are a royal priest, a holy nation, God's very own possession. As a result, you can show others the goodness of God, for he called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Once you had no identity as a people, now you are God's people. Once you received no mercy, now you have received God's mercy.
I can't catch me. Wow.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. Ooh, look, the For Community video just came out.
We need to make sure we look in the background for the cool characters.
Yeah, we need to make sure we watch that when we get home. Oh, and also connect HQ, of course.
Here's the point I want to make around this video. Attach like Jesus. We learn our attachment styles in our families of origin. Well, as a Jesus follower, we have a new family of origin, and our parent figure, God himself, Jesus, is modeling a new style of attachment for us. There are three things jumping out to me in this text that I want to share with you. First of all, let's look at Jesus as both care seeker and caregiver. The text is Christ, who is the living cornerstone of God's temple. He was rejected by people, but was chosen by God for great honor. It also goes on to say, "For you are a chosen people, you are a royal priest, a holy nation, God's very own possession." As a dad, I am both a care seeker and a caregiver. And if you are a parent, you are probably going to understand right away what I'm talking about. Clearly, as a dad, I am a caregiver. That comes in the form of giving hugs, meeting needs, being a driver, talking, you name it. I'm also, though, a care seeker. I don't always want to be doing the giving. I also want to receive something. The other day, my youngest stood in the living room and she wasn't asked to do this. She just spontaneously did this. She yelled out, "Free hugs." And don't you know that I was pretty quick to get there and get one of those free hugs? What I want is a real relationship with each of my kids, and that kind of relationship goes both ways because it's easy for parents to burn out. But as a dad, I also know that there are big limitations around the idea of a reciprocal relationship with my kids right now because there's a huge power imbalance. I'm the one with the power, and I'm the one that needs to do the sacrificing. But I can dream of better, more mature days ahead. It's not so different with God. He is the caregiver. Clearly, we've read about Jesus dying on the cross, rising again, and offering us forgiveness and unconditional love. He hears us when we pray. His presence is with us all of the time. He is also, though, the care seeker. Let's not miss this. He hasn't offered us an unconditional relationship. A relationship with him has conditions. Namely, it's faith in Jesus, and it's following Jesus. The text tells us that Jesus was chosen to be the entry point and the stability of our connection with God. Jesus, being God himself, put in place a way for us to be connected with him for eternity. Our Creator is also our Redeemer. And of course, that makes no sense at all if you don't think there's a problem. Sin is the fundamental problem of humanity, and Jesus is the answer for that. Jesus brings people and God together in a way that the two can understand each other. Jesus, being fully human, can speak to God on behalf of humans. And Jesus, being fully God, can speak to humans on behalf of God. He's the perfect mediator because he's the perfect communicator to reconcile people and God. As a caregiver, Jesus became the capstone. As a care seeker, Jesus has created his own people, his family, his very own possession. And as the best dad of us all, he's looking forward to the day when we step into reciprocal relationships. Yes, that's right. There is a huge power imbalance right now. So there are limitations on the relationship that we can actually have with God right now. But First John tells us that we will be like Jesus because we'll be able to see him face to face. So then we'll be closer to the kind of care seeking that God actually wants us to fulfill for him as we enter into that new and awesome relationship. Okay, we talked about God. Now let's talk about you. You as a Jesus follower with this new model of an attachment style. So, point number 2, the first point about you are a care seeker. The text says, you are living stones that God is building into his spiritual temple. It also says, once you had no identity as people, now you are God's people. Once you received no mercy, now you have received God's mercy. As a dad, I can get to the point where I feel like I've got nothing left to give. I mean, I haven't run out of love for my family. I've run out of energy. I'm just a shell going through the motions. I'm a robot barely hanging on. And if you're a parent, you totally get probably what I'm saying as well. Sometimes there's just nothing left to give, and we are just a shell. We need care too. We can't spend all of our life just exhaling. We also need to be doing some inhaling, particularly as parents, because we get spent so much. I love how this text sets up the idea that Jesus followers take on the attachment style of Jesus. As Jesus models a secure attachment, which includes both caregiving and care seeking, so we mature into Jesus followers who both give care and seek care. So let's start with care seeking first. Jesus followers are described as the temple. Jesus works within us, and his activity can be found through each and every one of our actions if we allow it. We, coming together, can become a place of health and mutual care. We are a part of God's family, his possession that he personally cares about and for. And as siblings, spiritual siblings that you and I are, as Jesus followers, we can receive care from each other while we're also giving care too. This is the idea of the church. The church isn't a place, it's not a building, it's you and I who are Jesus followers. We don't go to church, we are the church, gathering as a church in whatever form that needs to look like. And when we gather together, however that looks, we can care for each other and receive care. At the same time, if you're feeling depleted, the answer is to make sure that you're part of a group of Jesus followers who all care about each other. Doesn't stop here though. If that's all we did, if all we did was care seeking, we'd have a problem. If we're only concerned about seeking for our own care, then we're going to grow narcissistic and weak with these high expectations that other people exist to serve us. And we wash our hands of any of our responsibility of being care giving. So let's talk about this second point for us. Point number 3, you're also a care giver. The text says, what's more, you are as holy priests. Through the mediation of Jesus Christ, you offer spiritual sacrifices that please God. As a dad, this one is easy. It just doesn't go away. I can't not be a caregiver. If I stop being a caregiver, my kids suffer, and I don't want that. And I'm sure that you understand what I'm saying. As people who want to be good parents, is it even an option for us not to be caregivers? No! And that's similar to our role as Jesus followers too. It is not an option for us not to be caregivers, but it looks different. Jesus followers are kingdom agents. As the only group of people on the planet Earth that carry Jesus' presence, we also have the ability to function as Jesus did as a priest. We are described as people who have been given some of what Jesus' role was. As Jesus is and was, now we are the bridge between Jesus and people who don't know him. The church isn't a building, it's a group of people on the same mission of Jesus as communicators and demonstrators of God's present kingdom, his love, and his all-around awesomeness. Listen, here's a summary. Jesus models the kind of attachment style that he wanted to pass on to us. Jesus models both care-seeking and caregiving. As a care seeker, he has created a community for himself, a community of Jesus followers, and he's moving us toward a reciprocal relationship post-second coming. No idea what that really is going to look like, but we have comments in the Bible telling us it's going to be awesome. As a caregiver, he's a mediator between God and people. As a person, he can represent people to God. As God, he can represent God to people. He's the perfect communicator between the two groups and can bring perfect reconciliation. Jesus' style of attachment with others is now our style as Jesus followers. We connect with each other as Jesus followers so that we're all cared for. And we act with kingdom agency, communicating and demonstrating God's present reality, his love, and his general awesomeness. And that's why For Community creates community spaces so you can connect with others and also with God, so we can function as caregivers and also as care seekers. Okay, that's it from me to you for now. Would you please like? Would you please share? Would you please subscribe? Also, would you please ask for the link? This week, we're meeting on Sunday morning, Sunday evening, 10:30 and 6 p.m. Ask for the Zoom link. If you'd like to contribute, you can find the link to contribute down in the show notes for community, creating community spaces so you can connect with others and also with God. See you next time.